Okay, we'll continue our media availability for the 46th annual Gander RV 400, and we're joined by the driver of the number 18 Skittles Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. That is Kyle Busch, the winner of the last 2 races here at Pocono and winner of 3 of the last 4 here at Pocono. So, kick it off with questions for the man who has dominated this race the last few years. Please raise your hand and we'll get your mic. Go with Zach.
Zach Sterniel, the Pocono Record front stretch. Kyle, it's a lot of speed these first 2 practices for you. A lot of success here recently. What's the mindset coming in here this weekend?
I mean, obviously, mindset's to try to win and, put ourselves in position to be able to do that, to try to just get those extra 5 points that you can get and, that trophy at the end of the day. So hopefully we can achieve that success. We've got our Skittles colors with us here this weekend. Those have always kind of boded well for us, so hopefully it continues the pattern.
Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Scott Miller said that he told the Truck Series drivers, and he said he'll tell you guys tomorrow, no brake checks on restarts and, beyond the second place car not laying about a half a length back, no laying back. I'm curious, how important are restarts considering the style of racing is today? Has there been a lot of gamesmanship, and does NASCAR need to step in?
Yeah, there's been way more gamesmanship going on with restarts this year because it is priority number 1 on trying to make passes. You have about 3 laps to make passes and get yourself in position essentially before everything single files out. Once it starts to single file out, that's kind of it. Depending on especially the racetracks you go to, but like Loudon last week, it was kind of that way. There was a few guys that could pass and get up towards the front. Dover's definitely that way. Here at Pocono's definitely that way. Once you get yourselves single filed and strung out, the aero effects are just too great to overcome. So restarts are everything. And yeah, there's certain gamesmanship being played on restarts. It's been a lot more this year. Everybody kind of understanding that, realizing that, and so I would agree that it was about time NASCAR stepped in, or all of us were just going to continue to see what all we could get away with.
Dan, and then Jordan.
Dan Gelston, Associated Press. Kyle, NASCAR was just in here and said next year's doubleheader at Pocono, 350 miles on Sunday, probably around the same length on Saturday.
Probably.
Sunday, Sunday fields set by inverted start. How do you feel about the possibility of having 2 350-mile races in one weekend, and do you like the idea of the inverted start?
Yeah, sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. The real important stuff is the details that probably haven't yet been released on what all happens with practices. Do we practice both days? Do we only practice once? Do we race the same car both days? All that sort of stuff. Like, those are the details that all of us and the teams and owners and everybody are more worried about than race lengths and how they've determined starting lineups and all that BS. So, whatever. Give him the mic. Thank you.
It's practice and qualify on Friday, and then you'll race the same car both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. Well, that, so that kind of answers some of our questions, because we were all wondering if we needed to bring 2 cars here, if we were going to have 2 separate events type things. So that obviously will be nice for the owners, I guess, and no big deal for us as long as we don't tear up our stuff, so we can make it through a first event and then buff on it a little bit. I don't know how much work they'll let us do overnight, if it's impound or if they'll just allow us to work on our cars and then go back through tech, I would imagine. So, yeah, it's all good, whatever. Race lengths, doesn't matter. And invert, doesn't matter. Just, obviously qualifying up front is always important, but I imagine they'll just keep the same pit selections off of your first qualifying. So, that's not going to be that big a deal. In and out, boys. One weekend. It's going to suck for Brexton and me, but that's okay.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. I have a 2-part question. First, with the conditions, with the environment that is around today, can you have the same kind of intensity, rivalries and feuds that maybe you could have had 15, 20 years ago?
No, definitely not. Not the same, not at all. What the differences are, it varies, but there's just too much. I wouldn't say publicity, but just too much social media presence and too much people bad-mouthing one person or another person or whatever. The voice is too loud. Years ago, you could have water cooler talk or garage talk or whatever you want to call it, where people would go to work and talk NASCAR. Now you have people on their computers, on their cell phones, on whatever all day long talking about it or whatever, with not just one or two, three people at their job site, but like hundreds and thousands across the social media platform, and the voice just gets louder and just becomes more annoying. So, you got to mind your P's and Q's, I guess, a little bit more, and kind of let it die quietly at the racetrack, and then, when it picks up, because you run into somebody else and it picks up again and starts all over, but try to squash it, I guess.
Harvick was in here earlier, and he was talking about how you guys at one point had a pretty intense rivalry, but that's kind of flipped now, and you guys are friends. Do you remember when it flipped, and what was the trigger?
It started to turn around 2014, I would guess, when he got to SHR and when, Keelan was here. I think it had something to do with Keelan and Kevin finally, not finally, but Kevin just having a son and kind of figuring out what things look like from somebody else's perspective and not just his own perspective. And then, also I think Rodney had a lot to do with it. I think Rodney's got a great respect for people in the garage area. And I think Tony and Zippy and all those guys, I think the people that he's around at SHR are a great group of guys. And they're well respected, where the other team he was with is not. And so, it was just a difference of who your surroundings are, and you're only as good as who you're surrounded by. So I think that's a big difference.
What does Zach here? Follow up?
Has the traction compound made any difference in these two practice sessions, and do you expect it to come into play at all tomorrow throughout the race?
It hasn't quite yet. I've kind of moved into it a little bit in turn 3, just kind of working on something over there and seeing if I can't make that work. And it's pretty okay on entry to center, but then center off, it's not there. You can't really feel it. It's really, really slick and dirty and not very good because nobody's really rubbering it in. Nobody's up there grooming it, if you will. So will it come in the race? I think it will a little bit. You'll see probably, I don't know, 100 laps in, maybe it'll get a little bit better, hopefully. I say that because I want it to. Turn 2, I think, is okay. Turn 1, you'll never get in it. It's way too high.
Scott?
Scott Walsh from the Scranton Times-Tribune. Kyle, if you are able to win tomorrow, you would be the 3rd driver to win 3 straight races at Pocono, joining Bobby Allison, Tim Richmond. Do you think about that stuff? What does it mean to you, to be mentioned in the same breath with some of the, the legendary drivers of the sport?
It's obviously really cool. It's good. I'd love the opportunity to be able to achieve that and be there alongside those guys. It's pretty cool to have some of those things when you go to different places, and to be able to score wins like we have and have, I don't know, 55 of them, whatever it is, to try to continue that count for one. And then, the inner rows and the dominance at certain particular racetracks is obviously cool too. So love for that to come to fruition. There's a few good guys that are pretty fast as well too here this weekend, so we'll have our work cut out for us.
Any final questions? Here we go. Dustin.
Dustin Labino, front stretch. Kyle, how often does Matt DiBenedetto lean on you and the other JGR drivers?
I can only speak for myself, but Matt, he texts me a little bit, probably at least once a month about particular things or certain situations and what all's kind of going on and happening. But he's doing a really good job. It's actually been kind of fun to watch, and with seeing Wheels go over there and Matt come over there, and for that 95 team to be a fresh face for Toyota, JGR, and all of us to kind of be working with them a little bit. It's been pretty good. So hopefully that relationship continues and develops, and those guys will be able to continue to climb the points ladder. I don't know that they'll be able to make the playoffs here this year. It's a little late probably for that, but continue to build their chemistry and their strength in order to get ready for next year is going to be where it's at.
Any final questions for Kyle? All right. Thanks, Kyle. Good luck
Yep.
tomorrow.